Hopefully the surrounding noise isn't distracting because I actually am at a local park. So there's kids running around, there's people playing on jungle gyms and people walking their dogs and, what have you. So I came out here to do this video because it's a nice day outside. It's great weather. It's like 75 degrees. It's sunny. There's some clouds in the sky, but still mostly blue sky. It's a really nice day, so I thought I'd get out. But the topic of this video, is something that came up during, as I said, I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while, but what reminded me to do this was back when Aaron and Carrie got engaged. And something was said to Aaron after we talking about how excited it was, and finally the struggle is over, and a mutual friend of ours was like, "Oh no, the struggle has just begun," and it's like, while we know what he means, we're like, we want to be married, man. And this guy was married. Don't get me wrong, he was married. That's why he said what he said. But it's like the single life is over. That's what we were celebrating. And again, he's from the baby boom generation, so the level of stupidity from women that he had to deal with versus us is different. So when we celebrate, us getting engaged, I say us like I was when we celebrate him getting engaged, it's a different level of victory versus the coming onslaught of life that is marriage, that he went through. Especially his wife. His wife was pretty, logical and, male friendly, to be honest with you. But, there's still just facts about being married and having kids that, it doesn't really matter. What you do is going to be difficult. Anyway, the reason why I'm out here is because, not only just for the nice weather, but also to see what it is that I want. Like to have actual living examples of what I want. And that's this. Well, actually, first, let me say this. People like myself have, and we're a very, very, very rare breed, but people like myself, we look at the world differently than most people. Like most people, when they ask a question, they want an answer. Now, they don't want that answer to really mean anything or be implemented in any way. They just want an answer. And what I mean by that is this. Take the stars, for example. And let's take the stars in the sky and let's talk about the Bible's answer for them. Now, most people read, the stars in the sky are meant to show you signs of, of growing, signs of harvest, and to, show the glory of God. Some people will take that and go, right on, thanks, and they will get up and go on about their lives as though they never asked that question to begin with. People like myself, no, we're not like that. It's, oh wow, okay, so why are the stars meant to show the glory of God? Then why did God make the stars? Why didn't he show his glory in something else? Or let's say it's like, oh, just because God did. Okay, well then, what are the stars like? What are they? What do they consist of? It's like, oh, well, they're not all stars. Some are planets, some are asteroids, some are meteors, some are, it depends on the visual range. And it's like, oh, well, what are those? How do they work? Are they like what we're on? Like, where are we at in all of this? How does, we want to know more. And then, the explanation and understanding of all that, for us, that kind of gives meaning and the glory of God, if you will. But I say all that to say this, is that some people don't have the same thought train and the same process as myself. And that's really hard to deal with when trying to explain points and explain life concepts. Because when Aaron and I say things like, hey, we want to be married, a lot of people are more in the thoughts of, or more along the lines of their thinking of, oh, I just want to be married in the sense of I want to have a wife and eventually have kids, and then that's it. Most people when they hear us say that think that we're along that kind of childish mindset that maybe either they were on or someone who else they knew they were on who ruined their life because that's what they thought marriage was just getting married and having kids and leaving it at that. And people like myself and Aaron, we don't look at the world that way. We're more the sense of why and what's the purpose, and how can we implement this, and why should we implement this, and what are the negative ramifications of it, what are the positive ramifications of it. And a lot of people don't think that way. So, when Aaron and myself say like, oh, I want to be married, I want to have kids, a lot of people don't look at that the same way that we do. And that's the frustrating thing that, I run into when I'm trying to explain, just, I won't say explain, but when I try to convey to people, well, I guess explain, so convey to people, why I want to get married. Because, I want to get married because that's really, there's something about being married and having a family that just, it brings out something in people that you can't get anywhere else. Like I said, I'm at a park right now. There's young guys here, there's young ladies here, there's new couples here, there's old couples here, there's families, there's young families. No really like middle old families, because the kids would be too big to play on the playground, and they're probably going through middle school and high school, and they hate their parents and all that stuff, typical stuff. But I notice of all the people here, the people with the biggest smiles on their faces are the new parents. And I say new parents meaning they have kids who are 5 and under, and the grandparents. And I just find it funny that this is something else that the baby boom generation has ruined with my generation. It's they spent so many years of our lives telling us, oh, don't get a girl pregnant, and don't do this, and don't do that, and only have kids when you're ready, only get married when you're ready, make sure you're done partying, make sure you're done traveling the world, make sure you get done acting like a child, don't start dating until you're 30, you're not ready for anything until you're 30, just teaching and reinforcing the state of sophomoric, childish behavior and mentality. And it's really been, another disservice of the baby boom generation to, I always say the baby boomers, the late baby boomers, and to the early Gen Xers. That's, the age group I'm really talking about. And it's like, how is getting married and having kids such a burden on your life when I'm looking at people right now in live time, and no one's more happy, like from an internal core perspective, no one is more happy than the people who are parents with kids. And again, I know not every day is sunshine and throwing the frisbee in the park and pushing your son or daughter on the playground, and like I'm watching was he 1, 2, 3, 4 adults right now. 4 adults. It's 2 guys, 2 girls. I don't know who's with who because they're kind of sitting in an awkward way, but there's 3 kids running around. There's 2 girls and a boy, and they're running along this, I guess, long piece of path that they've been allowed to run across. They have to go to this tree and turn back around. Then the parents are watching them, and they're all laughing and giggling. When the kids are just happy to be outside, they can run around, they can frolic amongst the dandelions, and the look on the parents' faces is okay, let's make sure they don't go out of our eyesight, make sure no one gets lost, but they're still just sort of like this is great. This is what makes them smile, just watching their kids play with each other and have fun, have a great time. And then I look at the people who don't have kids, they're all trying to be cool, still trying to, impress people who don't matter. And this is when like my kind of brain kicks in, because it's one of those things where it's okay, let me get this straight. When your life is supposed to be over and boring and mundane and not worth, almost not worth living anymore once you have kids, then how come the people out here who are the most, internally happy are the people who have kids? Okay, the kids are running back, as their parents call them. I'm not sure if y'all heard that over the video or over the audio or not. Well, the kids are running back, and I'd probably say 50 yards past the kids, there's a guy and a girl. Clearly a couple. I don't know how long they've been dating, but they're clearly a couple. And they're just kind of, like they they carry themselves like, oh, we're supposed to be dating now, but we're not really ready to get married. We're not really ready to do anything. And judging by the looks of it from this far away, they're probably, I don't know, 20, 19, maybe 22, you know. And in generations past, mother of the little boy now got up and started running with him. I guess his his sister or female friends or whoever the other two little girls were, I guess they were done running around with him, but he wanted to go run again, so his mom went with him. But anyway, like going back to that couple who I'm looking at, they're kind of just, giggling, like kind of like the little giggling, playful, ha ha ha, like he picked up a stick and threw it at her, like a small one, not one as big, and she picked up a dandelion and threw it at him, and, but, it's like, this is what they're doing at 20, 21 years old, 19, however old they are. And in generations past, they would be married and have their first kid. And because of the sophomore nature that has been presented to my generation through the, late Xers, or not late Xers, early Xers and late baby boomers, we're told, not to have families and not to, get married and, travel the world and explore and get to know yourself. It's like, I look at what that's breeding, because again, this goes back to the mentality I've talked about that I have. It's like, why would I do that? It's like, oh, so you know yourself. It's like, well, what were you doing in high school? What were you doing in college? Like, matter of fact, what were you doing in college? Because aren't those the years that you're supposed to run around and be childish and not think of the world? Now, I know you're still in college when you're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. But I'm saying, let's just act like, let's delay the age of marriage until like 24, 25. So we're not supposed to get married until 24 or 25. So that leaves us the college years to, travel the world and act childish and, behave in just sort of whatever ratchet behavior that we're supposed to, behave in or engage in. So at what point do we finally, settle down? Because when you sit here and tell somebody, I want to be married by the time I'm 25, then you get hit with the, well, I mean, you just have to let stuff like that happen. You can't force it. You can't rush these sort of things, But then it's like, okay, but at some point you and someone else have to link up and be like, hey, let's start a family, let's do this, let's do that, let's, go on to the next stage of life, And there's so many layers to this that it's hard to kind of keep my thoughts straight. But, I feel like a disservice has been done to my generation. Because, we're not at the age where we got guys who are trying to get married, in college, or just out of college. And we're quickly hit with the women, women need to have careers first. Women need to be strong and independent first. And then whenever they decide to have kids, and that's when the family shall exist and have kids. But, it's like the men are like, well, I want to have kids now, and if we're supposed to be a couple, and we're supposed to work together, and we're supposed to do all this, how come my needs aren't considered? Then you're quickly hit with the, well, what about her needs? It's just like, well, again, what makes her the the ultimate decider of everything? Not that men are going to always be the ultimate decider of everything, as well, but it's like no one can do anything until a woman is ready. That young couple I told you about, something just like flew in his shirt, or she put something down his shirt. He just ran off and took his shirt out, and she's laughing hysterically at him. But anyway, see, this is what I mean. Like, mankind was meant to be together. Like we're meant to be married. We're meant to have kids. We're meant to be grandparents. We're meant to be great grandparents. Like we're meant to live in communities. It says it right there in the first book in Genesis. Man was not meant to be alone, so he created him a helper. And it's just like it really sucks being part of my generation, because we're the generation that has the short end of this generational cycle stick, where, you know, everything's falling apart, everything sucks, and, you know, people have to talk themselves into believing that everything's fine when it's not, you know, and it's just like, it's so frustrating. But anyway, I want to get back on what I was talking about, you know, starting families. It's like, you can't teach one gender to, you know, just be frivolous and be sophomoric and be childish, and then teach the other gender to, you know, step up to the plate and be responsible, etc., and so forth. And that's mainly conveyed through women. You know, women are taught, you know, have careers, be strong, be independent, do your own thing, don't worry about men, blah 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 blah. And then men are taught the same thing on top of, well, no, don't get a wife, don't ruin her body by giving her a child, you know, it's like it's both sides are taught this outrageously selfish worldview of things. And it's like, it's not producing families, it's not producing happiness, it's not producing, you know, anything, quite frankly, worth living for. You know, it's like, oh, you'll have all these memories of traveling the world, and you'll have you'll sip the finest wines of Europe, you'll enjoy your safaris in Africa, and, you know, through the Amazon in South America, and, you know, hiking in the Himalayas and climbing Everest. It's like, have these aspirations and goals, because once you are chained down in the confines of a marriage, and then once you're sent to purgatory with a baby, you know, just all of that goes away. Despite the numerous people I've met in my life who travel the world with their children and spouses, but hey, whatever. You know, and it's just like, this is the joy that's being taken away. Because again, I'm at a park where I'm seeing everyone from different stages of life, and the happiest people are the parents of children. You know, I mean, like okay, that guy and girl couple got up and now they're walking around. Like, they're happy, but they're like, I have a companion happy. Going back to the group of people with the 3 kids and the 4 adults with the 3 kids. All right, we got the dad's laid out on the bench, hat over his head, taking a nap. His wife is, you know, right next to him. She's, I don't know, making a sandwich or something. You know, both of their daughters are picking the dandelions and looking up bugs and trying to collect stuff. And, oh, speaking of which, here comes the mom and her son who ran off earlier. And, like, they have this internal just relaxation, watching over the kids, great, nice day at the park, you know, attitude. And no one else around here has that level of just nice and comfortable community, you know, just innocent, loving nature, except for other parents. You know, I'm looking over here at the jungle gym. Like, you got some dad, you know, pushing his, what looks like a, you know, 2-year-old in a swing. A wife standing right next to him. You know, of course, you know, she probably don't want him to be pushing too hard, but but, you know, like, these are clearly, like, you know, parents who are like, they enjoy their children, they enjoy being together, they enjoy at the park, you know, and it's like this. I mean, I'm enjoying just watching them. Like, I'm not dating anybody, don't have a girlfriend, fully single, and I'm enjoying watching these families. You know, just seeing. One of the girls ran off, like, come on, come over here, because they're collecting dandelion heads, and then the boy's doing it just because there's no other boys, and his mom's tired of running around with him, so he's gonna go pick dandelions as well. But the boy's probably like 4. The girls are probably 4 as well. They all look probably within 6 months of each other. But again, it's like, this is what life's all about right here. And it really sucks having this, you know, portrayed to my generation as, oh, this is the ultimate worst thing in the world, is to be married and have a kid. You know, be by yourself, you know, travel the world, be selfish, you know. And it's like, you know, and it really sucks. It really sucks that my generation's on this, because when you have people like me who see that this is what life's all about. I mean, taking God out of the overall arcing equation, you know, because, like, again, the meaning of life is to praise and worship the Lord. In all honesty, that's what it is. I know a lot of people don't like hearing that, but again, I'm a Christian, and this is a you know, pseudo-Christian website, so I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. it's really funny how much of the world is a lie and people still fall for it. But then that also creates a sense of loneliness for people like myself and Aaron, because it's like we have to try to find a spouse in this in this Western American culture. I know it's not the same way around the world, but here in the United States, this is the way it is. And it's really unfortunate that my generation has latched onto this idea, and it's super hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious. It's actually quite sad. But it's hilarious in the sense that it's funny how the late boomers and early Xers taught us all of this stuff. Maybe be due to the fact that they were taught it as well, or what have you. Which they worked through the Rockefeller Foundation and everything, who stated goals to lower populations and kill people off. Like I know what the real reason is, but I'm just speaking at a fundamental, rudimentary level to where your average moron will get it. I probably shouldn't call them morons. They're woefully deceived by the great deceiver. There's so many layers to everything. Like, this is the problem with my mind, is I have the mind that I can see so many different angles and so many different layers that it's hard for me to accurately portray one level of something without trying to incorporate other things, because I feel like I'm not giving an accurate portrayal unless I incorporate the other things. But when I incorporate the other things, the people who can't separate, this is what this is for, this is what this is for, and this is what this is for, they just get so, lost in the forest because it's so many trees that you really can't do anything any justice without dumbing it down and watering it down. But then when you do that, you really don't solve the problem. But again, I'm not to go on this diatribe. This video's kind of carried on long enough. I'm gonna try to keep it about 25 minutes. But it's just sad that this is really what life is about. This is what life was meant for. This is what humans were meant to do. Again, it's like taking God out of the equation, just for the sake of argument, or just for the sake of this example. It's like we were meant to, be selfishless. Give up your dream of whatever, stupid hobby that you have, so you can, look after your wife, so you can raise your child, so you can, teach a young person or your own kid what to do about life's different circumstances. It's just like, is you backpacking in the hills of Europe more important than you teaching a young mind, when someone does wrong to you, forgive them and do this, and this is how you become a citizen of the neighborhood that you live in, and help out your fellow man, and really encourage each other? Is you backpacking through Europe more important than that? Is it more important that you are the corporate CEO or corporate executive of some company versus spending time with the very children who you supposedly say you love, over being a corporate executive? And it's just like, how strong and independent do you want to be? And it's like, and again, who are you trying to impress? There's just so many layers. I really can't do anything any justice, because I know as soon as I go into it, people want to hit me with, well, but what about this, and what about that, and what about this? And it's, or you just lose them completely, and they're just like, yeah, well, whatever, I want to do it anyway, which is, again, selfish behavior. But, I don't know, man. It's such a travesty that, my generation was taught such selfishness by the previous generation, and then being told by the very previous generation that told you to be selfish and don't have kids, don't get married. Now they're getting old. Now they want to be grandparents, and now it's time for you to settle down. It's time for you to get serious. It's time for you, you can't be a child forever. And it's just like, that's not what you told us for the first 20 years of our life, And I'm not talking about my parents specifically, or Aaron's parents specifically, or some of our other friends' parents specifically. We were all taught what I'm preaching right now, or the point I'm trying to convey right now. But it's like, okay, it's the same thing I talked about, in some of my videos talking about the black community. It's like, you can't sit here and produce all of these black boys who are supposed to be on point, pull their pants up, speak with, a level of education that's, higher than the stereotypical advertisement of what a black man should sound like when he speaks, but then you tell him, okay, get married, reproduce, and produce more black boys and black girls like yourself. And it's just like, but what black women are they supposed to marry? Like I forgot what Vida said it in, but it's like, the organization around here that does that. It's like you graduate, 30 to 40, on point black teenagers, and then the sister organization has 10 black females. And it's just like, okay, you now have 20 or 30 black men not marrying black women, and then you want to try to sit here and hit them with the, you just want white women, you're a sellout, you're an Uncle Tom. It's like, I'm sorry, point to all the black women who you raised and taught to be these kind of men's wives. It's like we're at that same area right now. It's just like, you can't get rid of Christian fundamental morals, teach everybody to be selfish, and think of yourself, and then add a man onto your program or add a woman onto your program whenever you feel like it. And then when an on-point guy comes on, a nice, good, just like stereotypical Prince Charming, when he's going out looking for a princess, and it's just like, but you've taught all the princesses to act like the whores, and you told the whores to continue acting like whores. And then when the guy's like, yeah, I'm just not gonna marry anyone, then it's just like, that's selfish. Be a Captain Save-A-Ho. It's just like, nah, we're good, or then you get like one of my friends where he's playing the Captain Save-A-Ho role, but then, you have other groups of people talking about, it's like, well, why is he with her? He couldn't find anybody else? And it's just like, not really, It's just like, and that's what's funny about, the boomer generation. It's just like, they sit here and they taught our generation to not follow the rules, not be, this video is going to be definitely longer than 25 minutes. Push it out to 30. Not, just to be ultimately selfish. And then we're just supposed to magically not be selfish one day because of reasons. And then, now we have to make them grandparents. It's like, oh, no. You not being a grandparent, or you being a grandparent into your late 60s, early 70s, is what you get for teaching your children to be, these snot-nosed, self-righteous, think I know everything because the internet, and not use any level of discernment when, deciphering information. But because we have the internet means that we're smarter. Generation of kids for 20 years, and then get mad when we act like the very heathens and debaucherous creatures that you trained us to act like. It's like, no, reap what you sow. Charles Stanley said that. You reap what you sow, later than you sow, more than you sow. Yeah, you can't sit here and sow toxic ideas for 20 years and then get mad when you have 20, 30, 40, 50 years of decadent behavior of the very mentality that you sowed into a generation. The mentality and the mental seeds that you planted in the dirt mines of a youth, because like they're not old enough to know better. Anyway, so I just say all that to say this. It's like, guys like me, we want to be married. We see that, this is where happiness comes from. It's being in a community, being together, enjoying time. These little kids are not coming over here by me. They can probably hear what I'm talking about. But, it's like, this is what God meant for us to have amongst each other. It's community, friendship, family, companionship. It's not good for mankind to be alone. This is what life's about. Again, aside from worshiping God and stuff like that, this is what life was meant for. It's just, to enjoy fellowship. Like I see what the Garden of Eden was going to look like now. As much as I've tried to look at it, as much as I've tried to wrap my mind around what was God's original intention, I see now. I see exactly what God wanted, in the perfect society. And yes, Adam and Eve ruined it, but we could be so much closer. But for whatever reason, we've just allowed, we've allowed toxic ideas that we should know doesn't work, due to the 6,000 provable years that we've been in existence and of recorded history that we have. But we're choosing not to do it. So, even my generation, it's like, okay, if we're so smart, we have the internet, why don't we fix all of these things? But it's like, no, because recent statistics show, and it's like, oh, you guys are just as stupid as the very generation who you blame. But again, that's just That's just how my mind works. I see every angle. But, you know, but this is the reason why I want to be married, because this is what life's about. This is the reason Aaron wants to be married, because this is what life's about. And it's really hard, really kind of conveying that to people. But, well, you know, people don't have the mind like I do, and I understand. I don't understand why, but I understand that, you know, you can't make someone see colors that they don't have the color receptors to see, you know. But anyway, that's my video. John from the Gen XY.